By telling my story, I'm hoping that it will help others trying to get the right supports to live with their disability. It has been a really long and complicated journey for me, and now I'm at the end of that process. The independent umpire, the Administrative Appeals Tribunal. When I was 13, I had a motorbike accident that caused an acquired brain injury. 12 years later, in 2008, I sustained physical disabilities following a medical mishap. This was when I started to need a lot of disability support. As things got worse, I had to start depending on my mum and dad. Unfortunately, their house is not accessible, so the Department of Housing built a bungalow for me. But they didn't know what my needs were, and ended up building something that I couldn't access or use. Mum and Dad were struggling to look after me. Because of this, I ended up getting very sick and ended up in hospital. Even then, I still couldn't get any supports to return back home. Without the supports in place, the hospital wasn't allowed to discharge me back home. The hospital met with the state disability, and the only option that I was given was to move into an aged care facility. I don't think people in the mainstream quite understand how cutthroat the hospital system is. They just want people out of their beds. The aged care assessment was rushed and done in 20 minutes the following day. She had my future in her hands, and with a few clicks on her tablet, she relegated me to aged care. The whole process was cold and impersonal. They'd made a whole heap of mistakes on the form, and when I tried to interject, she just ignored me. There was only me there and I had no supports. I wasn't even given time to get my head around the idea. They made me find my own aged care facility, and all I could find was not one that I really wanted to live in, but one that I thought I might be able to survive short term. I thought by going back into hospital that I'd be able to be discharged back into the community now that I had my package. But the NDIS told me that they couldn't generate my plan and package while I was still in hospital. The NDIS needs to start to work with the hospitals. I know from my experience just how quickly you can go from living in a hospital to living in an aged care facility. I had to discharge myself from hospital into homelessness. Although this seemed very risky, this was the only option I had. This forced the hand of the NDIS to finally give me a package. Unfortunately, when I finally got my package, I realised it didn't even meet my basic needs. And because of that, it left me with no other option than to enter aged care once again. I've spent the last 4 years basically living in a no man's land. This process is so stressful that for most people it would have destroyed them physically, emotionally, and mentally. I am optimistic that the AAT will make a fair decision on the supports that I need to manage my disabilities and overcome the institutionalization of living in an aged care facility.